The lessons of slaveholding parents were only one means by which daughters could learn about proper slave management techniques. The Rosebud, a weekly juvenile newspaper edited by Caroline Gilman and published through the 1830s, was another. Gilman created the Rosebud during a moment of growing tension over the slavery question, and she compiled the content in the newspaper with her own children in mind. She later expanded her vision to include a broader readership. The stories Gilman published in the Rosebud were directed towards male and female readers, though the historian Gail Kenny argues that the education of girls in the Rosebud focused mostly on housework, while lessons for boys centered on balancing filial obedience and white mastery. Regardless of Gilman's intentions, nothing stopped girls from reading the entire issue. A female reader named Julia submitted a letter to the editor describing how much she loved the magazine and mentioning that her female classmates had tried to take it from her so they could read it too. Young female readers came to understand that a planter's daughter feared none but white men. They also came to know what forms of deference they should expect from enslaved people, and were taught that white people referred to enslaved men as boys. They were advised on proper forms of religious instruction for enslaved people, as well as the kind of funerals and weddings slave owners might permit enslaved people to have. They learned about the pass system, which required enslaved people going from place to place to carry documentation that identified their owners and detailed their travels. And through Gilman's critique of abolitionist literature, her readers often learn how to respond to public assaults upon slavery. In 1835, the abolitionist Catherine Sedgwick wrote a 3-volume novel set during the American Revolution, whose protagonists were the Linwoods, a slaveholding New England family. They owned a woman named Rose, who was very close to her owner's daughter, Isabella. One day, Isabella asked Rose if she were happy, and Rose replied that she was not, because she was a slave. Isabella recounted her parents' kindness toward Rose and remarked how much she and her brother loved her. Rose replied that slavery was a yoke, and it galled her that she could be bought and sold like cattle. She would die tomorrow to be free today. Seeing Rose's pain, Isabella promised the enslaved woman that she would be free and asked her father to manumit her. He refused her request, but through a bit of trickery, Isabella was able to keep her promise to Rose. In response, Caroline Gilman wrote an op-ed in the Southern Rose, the new name of the Rosebud, that refuted Sedgwick's description of slavery and characterization of enslaved people as embodied by Rose. She argued that it is not true that African slaves pine for free breath. They are the most careless, light-hearted creatures in the world. Without reservation, she believed that the great mass enjoy the service they render and that Sedgwick did not understand their character. She also questioned why Sedgwick and other Northern women would waste their sympathy on a subject so distant from their sphere of observation. She encouraged these women to come to the South, where Southern ladies would show them happy black faces enough, particularly on plantation. Gilman failed to acknowledge that she, like Sedgwick, was Northern-born. She also ignored the North's long history of slavery, as well as the fact that even as Sedgwick was writing the Linwoods, and when she herself critiqued it, she could have found African Americans in the North laboring under forms of bondage that resembled enslavement. Gilman also did not seem to realize that Sedgwick was referring to the North's history of slavery in her book, or that Sedgwick did know at least one enslaved person's character quite intimately.